anybody who agrees with her, stand up.
Crickets.
Silence. I still did that. Even if I did it alone, I still did that. Think of like maybe 30, 40 boda bodas just on one small street in CBD. And each of these boda bodas have like 5 guys on them. And they're armed. They have really long nyaunyos, the clubs,
sticks,
metal
yeah.
sticks. Some of them even had tear gas, which I'm like,
I wonder where
tear
they
gas
got it
from.
from.
And it's funny because that's still a conversation till now about where are they getting tear gas from. There's only one place they can. Guys.
Yeah.
Kenyans, please don't forget, they killed us when we asked for better.
Welcome to For Mannerless Women, a space committed to nurturing a new generation of shame-free women. And in this episode, we're going to be hanging out with Tatiana Gicheru. She's going to show us how to stand up for your rights and how you can find your voice.
All the mannerless or almost mannerless women.
First and foremost, thank you so much for coming on the show and for the work that you do online, because I feel like you are one of those voices when people talk about young people in the country standing up for a better country. You're one of the voices that we place there. So thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for seeing me. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm still like wrapping my head around, the fact that I'm here, but I'm so excited. And sometimes it's nice to get that little bit of validation, especially when you don't have like the double-digit followers and all that. So thank you for seeing me and for having me.
Yeah. And so like a lot of your conversation, I feel like it's awakening us to be active citizens, which is what I call it. Like you do have a right to question certain things and to interrogate certain things and say, I would like my country to look like this, that, or the other. Where did that part of your personality come from, where you are not afraid to speak out?
It's hard to like pin it and say it started here.
Yeah.
It's been like an evolution for me. I started when I was maybe from class 1. I can say from class 1, I started public speaking.
Awesome.
So in class 1, we would go for Kenya music festivals, and you pick like a piece of paper, and in that piece of paper is a topic.
Okay.
And then you're given like 5 minutes to put a presentation together and come and present. So in class 1, it's like my pet, my family.
Yeah.
In class 2, 3, and it just keeps getting harder and harder. By the time you're in class 8, you're talking about, I remember when I was in class 7, my topic was water. I didn't even know
Oh, wow.
where to start.
Yeah.
But so public speaking was a journey for me. Communications was a journey for me because when I was 14, I started a blog where I would write about my growing pains, puberty, traveling, fashion, the things I liked at the time. So I've always had a passion for communicating and for being creative and I guess for, putting my ideas into the public. But standing up for myself, I think it's always been there. Maybe because I'm an only child to a single mom. I've always been encouraged to express myself. I remember this particular story when I was in class 4.
Yeah.
We had this teacher called Teacher. I'm gonna say it because she really put us through it. And if she listens to this, I hope she's not traumatizing kids anymore. She was called Teacher Caroline. And she was really mean to us. She used to make kids like rub her feet. And she was really mean. And she used to beat us, which wasn't the custom in my primary school, but she would always pinch us or just be mean and just give us a hard time. So one morning I came and her class was the first one in the morning, English. And I said to my classmates, guys, haven't you had enough of this lady? Like, she's really been driving us crazy. We need to tell her, we can't just keep quiet about it anymore. And everyone is like, let's go, let's stand up to Teacher Caroline. So she comes into class and I'm like, I have my hand raised. I'm like, I have something to say. And I stood up to say it. I was like, and I was very polite about it too, she was still my teacher. I was like, as a class, we've not been feeling you've been treating us well. And she just said, anybody who agrees with her, stand up.
Crickets.
Dead silence. It is dead silence. So I was left to deal with that problem. I got in so much trouble. But in the end, my class teacher kind of helped me get out of it. He was a really cool guy. That's And since then, you know, I've always been getting in trouble because of my mouth. Everyone in my family list is, Tatiana, that mouth of yours. I've just come to accept it. So yeah, I think it all makes sense how everything has unfolded. Yeah.
I'm just so impressed by that class 4 story because it's just so commendable. I think some people stop at knowing something is wrong with how I'm being treated. But then going the extra step, not many people make it to that point to be like, and I'm going to do something about it. You know, most people hang around just saying, this is not nice. I don't like this. I don't like this. We're not doing.
And it taught me early that in doing something about it, you might end up you're standing alone. You'll end up getting in trouble alone. Nobody's going to back you up. And then afterwards, they're going to come and tell you, sorry, I just can't get in trouble. I already, something already happened with my parents. Imagine if my parents were called or something like that. But sometimes you realize that, hey, I still did that. Even if I did it alone, I still did that.
And it doesn't change that it was the right thing to
and
stand
it still
up.
benefits everyone at the end of the day.
Yeah. Tell me about the blog that you started, because this is maybe now when the content creator side starts coming out.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow. So I was 14 years old, and I think also being an only child has impacted me, because I think when you're an only child, especially a Gen Z only child at that time, you have so many tools available to you in form of apps, in form of websites. So for me at this time, it was WordPress, right? So yeah, I decided to open a WordPress account and start writing. So at first I would write like poems, stories, like maybe something would happen to me in school in terms of bullying, because I was bullied a little bit a lot in high school. So I would like write hypothetical stories about it and just post it. And I started getting like a readership, and I knew a lot. It's crazy how much I knew about like branding at that age, because I came up with like a slogan. It was for the culture. I don't know where or why, but I was like, it was called All Things Kiki for the culture. Yeah. At the time, I used to call myself Kiki. I'm not gonna. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. But yeah, it just started as a way for me to express myself. 14. Then I did it for 2 years. Yeah. And I actually did a page on KCB Lions Den. I was I was moving very much by myself at this time. I didn't get much help. So sometimes I watch that clip and I'm like, cringe. Like,
but you did it.
I still did it.
Yeah.
And it helped me to now change the blog into a magazine. So when I was 16, or just before my 16th birthday, I decided to convert the blog into an online magazine where I just got my friends to write different articles for me. So I had 2 friends that were really into natural hair. I said, can you guys be giving me 1 natural hair article and 1 video every week? Okay, cool. And I did it. I would call a videographer and set up like shoot days. We used to have so much fun with all that content. I got someone else, older people, to write about business, money. I was just thinking, what are the moving parts of a magazine? Yeah. I remember one milestone moment for me. Okay, my dad is probably going to listen to this podcast episode, but I'm just going to say it. When I was 16, I started thinking a lot about pleasure and masturbating in particular. And it was something that we were so ashamed of when we were that age. Yet it's something that we were doing. Yeah. But we couldn't talk to each other and say we are doing it. Yeah. So once by chance I had a conversation with my friend, and she told me, do you ever, And I was like, yeah, I do that. You do it too? Yeah, I do that. Yeah. And I was like, wait, so it's like normal or something? And she was like, yeah. And then I asked my mom about it. And my mom was like, not only is it normal, it's healthy. I encourage it. You do that. Leave boys alone. So I was like, my mom is really cool, by the way. I love her to death. So I was like, wait, so why is it that for all this time it's been shrouded in so much shame and secrecy? So I called up, I hit up rather via DM, a very sex positive blogger who I used to follow at the time called Just Nemo. And I said, hey, I have this magazine, check out the link. I want you to write an article about masturbating for a young audience, because they might not take it seriously coming from another 16-year-old, but you're older. It's like a big cis vibe. And I got her to write it. And the website is still up. It now has the WordPress. It used to be allthingskiki.com, but now it's allthingskiki.wordpress.com. And the article is still there. I am pro masturbation, featuring Just Nimu. And I was 16 years old when I made that decision.
I'm so impressed.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed because like the society we grew in, a woman's body never belongs to her. Even when she's a girl, you're shamed in terms of owning your body, and you're always rounded off to the nearest man, be it your brother, your dad, or your partner, right? So even when we talk about things, pleasure from a sexual perspective, like people are ashamed and women are ashamed because it's just like, you've never been made to feel like this is your body to own and it's your body to feel good in, and this is how you can feel good in it, right? So at 16, it takes very many women so many years to get the point of like, oh, I'm allowed.
Yes, and you have to be mannerless about it. At 16, I was mannerless. Yeah. I mean, it had its extremes to it, but I also like that kind of rebellious nature that I had at that age. There was nothing you were telling me. I was so kichwangumu then. I'm even easier to talk to now. But then I think also combined with the hormones, there was nothing you were telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we move from that to your zeal for pushing for better governance and documenting the finance bill protests and the protests that have come after that? How do we make that jump?
Oh, there's like two answers to that question.
Okay.
So for one, I would say uni. I was really torn down the decision. So I was like, do I go to law school? Do I do journalism? Or do I do international relations? Law school went out the window immediately. Like, okay, bye. And then I was left with these two. And yeah, it was really a push and pull for me, but I'm glad that I ended up doing my degree in international relations because I feel like the gift of communication and journalism, it's there. But my studying IR helped me sharpen the political analysis angle of it. It helped me understand, because IR is basically political science, but on a scale of like countries relating with each other. So I would say that like going into uni really changed my way of thinking completely. And I learned so much. And the next thing was 2024. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. It happened in 2024. And I remember having lunch with my mom and my uncle and saying, I'm going for Mandamano on Tuesday. Yeah, I saw this poster for Mandamano. Have you guys heard about this finance bill thing?
Yeah.
I'm going. And that was on the weekend before the 18th of June. I'm going. And with that, we just kept posting, have you guys seen about this finance bill? And we just continued posting about it. It was beautiful how that thing evolved. There was a time you couldn't post anything except reject finance bill. I remember so many creators were cancelled.
Yeah.
How are you posting, anything
Get ready
else?
with me. If
How?
you're not getting ready for
Mandamano. So I think I just kept it going after that because 2024 was such a packed year in terms of everything that happened. Even as the fire died down, there was so much. Gachagua got impeached. And so I just kept commenting on news as it happened.
Yeah.
And I just kept consistently doing it. And then I found myself here. I would say in 2025 is when I now became cemented as like that civic creator. But that was just because of the consistency since 2024. But that's definitely when I found my niche, so to speak, and said, I'm good at talking about these things. I love talking about these things. I'm ready for whatever might come from it. And yeah.
How was this your first protest to attend?
I went for beginning of 2024 anti-femicide, the end femicide.
Yeah.
And it was my dad, I remember telling me, I kind of wish you guys were thrown for some tear gas, like that's, then you would have gotten the real protest vibe. And I was like, oh yeah, same. I was so ready. I had milk in my bag. That time we were being told milk helps with tear gas. But actually, I think it's good that we felt that safety, and shout out to anybody who played a part in organizing that January 2024 protest, because
for it was
it was
spiritual.
beautiful.
I think it had such a spiritual,
and it gave us that feeling of we can do this. Yeah, and we did. So now but I knew in June, I just knew this is not gonna be the same, because this time we are going against the government. So I just knew. But the first time we went, June 18th, it was not so many people were in the streets.
Is it the one where the dress code was all black?
All black.
I went for that one, and we were so few.
Yeah.
They were just like, we were easily spotted.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
It was scary. It was
Very
terrifying.
scary. Yeah.
The first day, but now there was a time it became fun. It was like having a party in the streets.
Yeah.
They were throwing tear gas. They're like, "Go Tatiana!" It was so much fun actually. As more people started showing up.
Yeah, I mean, I think those protests, for me, why it was so important to go, and like what kept radicalizing me is like, you cannot be killing these young people. Like, it moved from being taxing ABCD. To me, I was just like, you can't kill people for disagreeing with you. Like, that is, you don't need to go have a degree to know that is absurd behavior, you know? What do you think changed within you by going for all the protests from the 18th of June, 2024, and how they just quickly really, the violence in them just kept increasing and increasing? What impact did that have on you?
That's a very deep question, because I think it didn't have the effect that they intended, not just on me, but on everyone, because they kept becoming more aggressive, thinking it's going to scare people away, but it just angered people more. And I think the whole thing could have been dealt with so much grace that could have afforded, or could have saved so many lives. Even if they didn't pass the bill, let's start there. Like, why? How does that make any sense? There's thousands of people outside screaming, reject the finance bill, reject the finance bill. And you're saying yes, you're voting yes, and you are elected by those people outside to represent their interests. Like, are you crazy?
Are you listening?
Like, and it's like they thought they were so untouchable, but that day they were terrified, and they have been terrified. I would say only now is when politicians are starting to get back to factory settings, where they're becoming they're showing their impunity. But we had really done a good job of keeping them in check until then. So I think the response from the state to be violent only fueled the anger more. And that's what happened with Justice for Albert, you know. There was the whole thing with Boniface karaoke. But the problem now, I think, is that I don't know if people are forgetting. There's that aspect of amnesia. But I hope that Kenyans, please don't forget, they killed us when we asked for better, just because we asked, and then we stopped asking and we demanded, and they came down on us. And I have a feeling now, getting into 2027, it's just going to become dangerous again. Since since July, they were like, okay, now we are doing damage control. So we've not seen so many of the abductions and the arrests, but it's still the same state that did that before. So we know what they're capable of.
And on a personal level, did it like fuel you more? Did you feel like, oh, now I'm not gonna, like, my foot is on your throat?
I would love to say yes, but I'm gonna give you a very human answer and say that it scared me, not in 2024, but I think when I continued with the work, it started to scare me. I started to feel like I'm being watched. I started to feel like, especially that feeling of every time you leave the house, you feel like someone is like following you. And it might not necessarily be that someone is physically, literally following you, but it's also not like paranoia. You understand that there are some spaces that you're in that people don't like it, you know, that you're shaking the status quo, or that you're asking the right questions. Or there are some videos that I will post and be like, okay, let's see how this is going to go down. Like when I did a video about talking about RSF and Kenya's involvement with RSF, if any, you know, those are some of the videos you post and you say, and you find myself saying things like, there is a lot of information already in the public domain. So I'm just also saying, like, this,
It's not me alone.
this is research I've done. This information is out there. I'm just arranging it and saying it as it is. So I would love to say that I said I'm going to keep my foot on their necks, but most of the time I really do have to talk myself, up. But I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going, even when I'm scared.
You have to do it afraid. And I think you also covered some of the protests, right? So you went, what was that experience like? So not only as a protester, but you also went like documenting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was everything all in one. It was fun. It was terrifying. So I was documenting the Justice for Albert protests. And at the time I was an intern at Sema Ukweli. Sema Ukweli was founded by Boniface Mwangi, and it's all about citizen journalism and documenting cases of injustice. And Boni took a chance on me. I really was trying to get into civil society for my internship. And out of everyone, Boni took a chance on me. And I was really intent on going to cover this, protest. And I was like, this is a Sema Ukweli story. I pitched to him my angle. I was like, we're going to do a story about the role of women in the protest. And, and he was just like, okay, go, So I was like, okay. The next day we had planned with our videographers. We got our mics, and we were ready to go. I think this particular protest was different to cover than maybe any other protest would have been because of goons. Yeah, so that was the scary part. First, we are not that many protesters. It wasn't like 2024.
Yeah.
But the goons, like, I still have the videos on my phone. Like, there's think of like maybe 30, 40 bodas just on one small street in CBD. And each of these bodas have like 5 guys on them. And they're armed. They have really long nyaunyos, the clubs,
sticks,
metal sticks. Some of them even had tear gas, which I'm like,
I wonder where they got it from.
And it's funny because that's still a conversation till now about where are they getting tear gas from. There's only one place they can get it, guys.
Yeah.
That was scary. And I remember the goons came and we were in a bit of a scuffle. I lost one of my mics and everybody just started running.
Yeah.
And I started running, and then I found myself that was on Koinange Street. So I ran, then I found myself on University Way. And I'm alone. And I can remember Boni's voice in my head saying, never find yourself isolated, never find yourself alone.
God, I'm getting chills.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. So, but you know what? In the moment, you're not as scared. You're just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Then one guy came with Nduvi. He's trying to convince me to get on the bike, but something told me, I can't trust this guy. I can't trust this guy. And then there was one guy coming with a boda from, up University Way, this big road. And he actually stopped and offered me a ride, and I immediately got on his bike. But I left my crew in town. I felt something up, like I can't go back to the office. So I told him, take me to Kenyatta Hospital. Got to Kenyatta Hospital, went straight to casualties. There was actually a particular person that I was checking on. Shakira called me and said, he's there. Just go and find out if he's okay. He had been hurt really badly on the leg. That was, I think, the first of such that I had seen. So I was just, helping him out. You know how you take someone to the hospital? He couldn't walk, so he was in a wheelchair. So just helping him get his paperwork done. I think we registered him for SHA that day. I don't know why people normally register once something has already happened. And then I just stuck around there and waited for casualties to come in from the protests. And I would just ask them, because most of them were able to talk for themselves. Do you mind if, I talk to you a little bit? I'm a citizen journalist from Sema Ukweli. And I was just recording their details. What's your name? How old are you? What happened? How did this happen to you? What did the doctor say? And taking pictures where they allowed. And I didn't do anything without their consent. Mind you, I've never been trained in any of this stuff. It just comes to you like, this is what you're supposed to do. Then I shared my reports with civil society organizations. I won't name which ones, but they do documentation. And they were able to to use that information for their reports. And it's still something I'm very proud of to this day. Yeah.
And even in that moment, like most people would just be like, "Hey, it's enough. Do the guy take me straight home?" But to have that, this is like an inborn passion for it to be like, okay, that was scary, but there's still some more work to be done.
Yeah.
It speaks to it being like a passion, and being part of like maybe even like what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah, I just couldn't. I left people risking their lives there in town. They are still there. It felt like it's the least I could do. Yeah.
And this is not you speaking up and standing up for what is right is not only in, civic conversations and like governance conversations, even in the space of building frameworks for content creators. You have also been very vocal when things go wrong. And there's like a moment that went viral where you were saying, this happened and it's actually wrong. It shouldn't have happened. Maybe you could unpack that experience for us.
Yeah, so many people actually found out about me through that, which I don't know. I never want to attribute and say the whole thing that happened with. It's called. Can I say it? Can I say the name?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sometimes you just have to ask. So it's Dentsu School of Influence, and don't get it twisted. I have nothing against them, especially now, because since the whole thing happened, I've gotten some phone calls from people who are accepted into the program who said, by the way, I feel like these guys were going in a different direction until you came and did that whole thing. And now they had to, go back to the drawing board and look at things differently. So to me, that's a win. To me, that's like, yay, we actually had some kind of impact, because people thought that I made all that noise to get like a payoff or something like that. That was not it. I just thought the whole thing was not done very fairly, and to now start going back into details, I just thought, why would you call us and say, okay, it's an interview? Like, how you apply for something and then they interview you and then they say, okay, you got the job. So they say this is the coolest interview ever. We get there, we stay there for like 3 hours before you let us in. And then we get in and you're like, so for the interview, there's a bunch of brands here. It's a whole event. There's a bunch of brands. Go to the stands, make content with the brands, and then post something like 3 or 4 videos, and you have to do it all by end of day. So this thing has started already at 2. And what do you mean this is a content making interview? There's nowhere to charge our phones. No one was told to come with their mics or their equipment. And these brands that all have their setups here, right? These are your clients, because Dentsu is an advertising agency. So I think for me, it was just me using my head to pick the whole thing apart and be like, you can say it's something else, but this is what it looks like, and I just don't get it. I don't think it's fair. I feel like you're taking advantage of what people are trying to get, of these people who are trying to get an opportunity. And if it was really neutral, have neutral brands that don't really exist, but to have your clients, it's a clear conflict of interest. And there, that was quite an experience, because it taught me to deal with people clapping back at you on the internet. That was really the first time, I had people making videos about me. I had people making podcasts about this thing and saying, the whistleblower makes whistleblower content. So I can see how this was. And I was like, wow, okay.
Oh my, you branded me.
Put me in a box. And it's not like, it's not like I mean, you challenged us to make content.
I did.
I mean, sorry. But I was just picking apart, I was just calling it as I saw it. By the way, I don't have a problem with someone disagreeing with me. If anything, I actually encourage it. So if I say something you don't agree with, please come attack my argument. But I do not like when people attack me as a person, do a character assassination and say, oh, she's just a clout chaser. I'd rather you actually say, come and pick apart what it is I'm talking about. But, and now it's even evolved into tribal comments. You're throwing my last name back at me like it's an insult, So it taught me how to deal with that and have a thick skin. And I came to realize, and this is advice I got from one of your very good friends, Janet. She said,
It's my sister.
yeah, she said, and I have a video of it because it was a content that we were making. She said, if you are pissing people off, basically, then you're doing the right thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it means you're hitting a nerve and you're making people uncomfortable and you're making people question. And I think that has really stuck with me.
Because then people lash out because of the discomfort. And I always say, not just everybody mad, but when I'm making misogynists mad, then I know I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
When they're getting a bit too chummy with me or like cheering me on, then I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah, that is, keeping these people happy. And then you're doing something noteworthy, right? But it should never stop you. And I'm so sorry for the tribal remarks, because that should never be brought to the table. Because you never know, hey, even if you disagree with me and you come at me and share in a dignified way your thoughts, I could end up rethinking things and saying, actually, you do have a point. I didn't see it from that, but if you now come with insults, where is this conversation going, right? So how do you handle that? Do you take time offline?
Oh, these days it just bounces off me. Really, I do engage with, because there are people who engage with me critically and will be like, you can tell this person actually listened to what I said, because they'll be like, I agree with this, this, and this, but that part for this, and here's why. And I'll actually respond and I'll be like, why do you think that? Do you have an experience to back that up? I love creating content that prompts people to talk to me. If it's something like you'll see people saying SHA is not working, I'll come and be like, hello, has SHA worked for you? Anybody willing to share? So I love that. And the rest just bounces off. I've gotten used to it now.
Yeah.
There are some things, of course, like there are some comments you get that it's like men would never get told these things, especially. But also, it's good to also focus on like a lot of the love that I get as well. People are really nice out there. Every time someone shares my video, every time someone, writes me a message, sometimes people just write me a message and be like, hey, I just want to give you your flowers. Thank you so much. And it really makes me feel like, okay, thank you. I feel like motivated to keep going.
And there's a lot of love. I think sometimes the irritating bullies, they may be loudest, but they're not the most.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And we forget that there's still so much love. I love that you brought up Janet, though, because I feel like I'm super big on sisterhoods, intergenerational sisterhood. I think people and women need to have friends who are, like I'm 37, so it's important for me to interact and have friends who are in their 20s, have friends who are in their 60s, women in their 50s, in their 40s. I think there's a way it expands your womanhood in an incredible way. And I'm just wondering, is that the same for you? Like, do you intentionally create that community of different women around you?
100%. I think I've heard you describe it before as having a kitchen cabinet.
Yes.
Yeah. I've never had it described as sisterhood, because I always think to myself, like, I always think of this person as someone I revere so much. And that's why it's always so shocking when you get certain people that are doing so well in their lives and they're just like, come, give me your hand. Let me go with you. Let's walk this journey.
Yeah.
And it's always women.
Yes.
It's maybe one or two men, but it's always women. And I think it's because you recognize, maybe you see a small part of yourself in a young woman like myself, and you think, you know what I wish I had more of when I was in this space, and you decide to be that person for someone else, and it's beautiful. So I'm where I am today. I mean, I have all the ideas and the vigor and the creativity, but really grounding myself and building discipline and sustaining myself, which is also something Janet will continue to say over and over, is like, how do you sustain yourself? You can't just be all gas, no brakes over and over. How do you sustain yourself? So yes, having women of different ages has always grounded me. One of my very best friends, for example, is my grandmother. She's called Tatiana, like me.
Oh, wow.
I'm named after her.
Yeah.
She's 81, and we see life so differently. But sometimes it just helps to just listen to some of the things she has to say or some of the perspectives that she has, even if I don't agree with them, it helps to just also appreciate. Like the other day, I was having a conversation with my grandmother about money, and I've been telling her how, oh, I've been so obsessed with money lately. I've been listening to Just Ivy and the Just Money podcast and Dr. Kingori, and I've been learning about investing, and like I've started with my MMF, and like now I'm trying to expand my portfolio, and I'm explaining to her, of course, in a way she can understand, and she's like, wow, I wish when I was your age that we had this kind of information. And it's really inspired me. Like, we should really be more interested and curious because we do have all this information at our fingertips. So we should really be more keen to empower ourselves. Because for her, she was like, for the first time, I was actually talking about something that she wasn't just like, Tatiana. She was actually really like, wow, that's actually incredible. And most times when I talk to her, she's like, I think when they're at that age, they have a bit of a defeatist mentality because, man, you've seen all
and what they experience.
Go. So you're just like, man, you can fight and fight and fight, but change, it's hard to make. Even in 2024, I remember my grandmother really trying to keep me, away from the streets as much as possible. She was like, oh my gosh, I knew it was really stressing her out. But yes, the role of intergenerational sisterhood, intergenerational dialogue has been invaluable to me. I'm so, so grateful for all the wonderful women in my life and who I've met along the way, who have really, even if it's just helping me, there's no one who I'll be like, hey, I want to bounce some ideas off you. Can we have a meeting? Who will turn me down? And it helps. It really
goes such a long way. And you've clearly shared how important intergenerational sisterhood is for you and how impactful it has been for you. But one thing that's clear from your story, from the class 4 girl who stood up against teacher Caroline, yes. She's watching. Stood up then, and even with your blog and all the work that you're currently doing, is that you found your voice very early and you would speak up even when there's fear. How can a woman who's watching you now, who is still trying to figure that out of how do I find my voice? Like, I can't hear myself outside of all of this noise. Where can they start?
So with me, I think finding my voice, because it is associated with speaking, because I'm a public speaker, I'm a communicator, I'm a writer. So I'm used to expressing myself in the public, and that's just where my voice is. But I don't want to tell someone that finding your voice means it's going to look like how mine looks like, because that's my journey, not yours. So I think finding your voice, it's in what you're good at. I really do believe that every person in this life is born with something that they are meant to do. Everyone has their own purpose. So it's not really about finding your voice, but finding your purpose. And the other thing is being so fierce about your values. And to be fierce about your values, you need to know what they are. Just yesterday, I was having a conversation with someone about there's been a lot of controversy online surrounding content creators that have been hired by the government to kind of present the president as more agreeable, more favorable to the public. So there's like a list of creators that, they're saying, okay, this person is doing this kind of content. And to that I say, money is temporary, credibility is forever. So by holding firm to your values, you're paying yourself in a currency that you're never, ever, ever gonna be able to compensate with money. There's no amount of money you can give me to whitewash the atrocities of this regime, because how then am I going to go to sleep at night? And deep down what you care about, deep down how you felt, when a particular situation was happening. So then why would you just be a bystander? It just doesn't make sense to me. And I think also people struggle to speak up because they don't think they have power. But I tell you now, you speak up once, you will realize how much power you have. Because even if there's a repercussion for that, let's say you don't have a good boss and you call your boss out and you get fired, right? That's because you've called them out. That's because you're disrupting the status quo. And it might seem like the end of the world, but you will get through it. At the end of the day, you always have your credibility and you always have yourself to come back to. So it's those things. You need to find your purpose. You need to know what it is you care about and just not compromise. Never compromise on your values. Yes, compromise in life, but when it comes to your values, and not just because they are yours, but because of how they affect others. And I feel like we are in an epidemic of not thinking about other people. Yeah, it's really like you need to think about how this decision you make today will impact other people. I think that's social engineering that's actually gonna create change. Because if I think about how my decision is gonna affect Adele, that's how you've been able to make all the impact you have made with Legally Clueless. Because it was never about you. It was always about other people. It was always about sharing people's stories with the hope of inspiring others. I've learned so much from this podcast about maintaining friendships, about making money, very practical, life lessons and very inspiring life lessons that I can go ahead with. So
yeah, I love that. Like I think that's also a problem that whenever I think of us as a country, there's many issues we need to address and very many problem people we need to vote out. But we also have a values problem. I'm not sure I'm convinced that we have, the majority of us have a set number of values that we believe in, be it integrity, be it kindness and empathy, be it just on a day-to-day when you see how people treat each other. I'm like, I'm not convinced that there's values here, because it's just, unless the value is greed, So I love that because I think having values as an individual is super, super important. So to the women who are watching this right now, what is the mannerless message that you'd want to leave with them?
You have power. You have the power. And all you need to do is step into it and choose it every day. And it can look like small things on some days. On some days, it can look like big things. Today, for me, it looked like canceling an arrangement that I had made because I was really overwhelmed and I had it up to here. And I said to myself, do I show up exhausted? Do I show up unable? Or do I say, you know what, I can't do this today? But this thing of always self-sacrificing ourselves, I think sometimes even choosing our power is just choosing ourselves. As women, they always try to dim our light. They always try and tell us, you're doing too much, just relax. Or, you need to have a man in order to anchor you or so that someone can take you seriously. So for women especially, you don't have to be so agreeable. I'm so over it. Like, piss everybody off, do the wrong thing, be mannerless. Like, you don't have to fit into anybody's box. Choose your power. You have it, and it's really your world. That's what I'd have to say.
That is so powerful. Like, I'm looking at you and I'm like beaming because I'm just so proud. I'm like, oh, yes, she really is on this powerful path. And like, you're already doing incredibly impactful work right now. You've already tapped into your power. So for me, I'm just like, can you imagine what she's going to do in the next 5-10 years? It's like going to be out of this world. So
thank you. Amen. From your mouth to God.
Yes. And so keep doing you, keep standing up, keep speaking up, even when afraid. Like, the impact is going to like outlive you, And thank you for coming on the show.
Just like that, it's over.
We can chill. We can chill. I'm not chasing your way. No. But thank you for coming on the show. And I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. And if you did, please share this with the mannerless or almost mannerless women in your life. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode.